You don't actually lack self-discipline. You're just really good at abandoning yourself.
If you're actively seeking ways to build your mental toughness, navigate life transitions with grace, or simply find inspiration to keep moving forward, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. You say you'll get up early, you'll say that you're going to move your body or that you're going to stop texting that person and start that new project. And then by Wednesday, you're back in the old pattern again.
And then the real pain is that you didn't do the thing that you said that you were going to do. And it's the voice that goes, see, you can't trust yourself. You failed again.
Absolutely. This is part 2 of our integration series, and we're talking about what it looks like to actually live your life authentically.
That's right. Out in the real world where you actually, day to day, how do you do it? How do you get back on track?
So today we're going to unpack where self-abandonment really comes from and why you're not broken and there's nothing really wrong with you, but how to rebuild that self-trust that you've lost. And it takes tiny little winnable steps instead of allowing shame to affect us.
Yeah, you can make a change.
Let's start going into how can you reframe it? What's the discipline in reframing self-abandonment? And what does self-abandonment looks like? Like, where does it come from? Where do we pick it up from?
I think we pick it up from programs, don't we? Like, there's so many things that influence our self-abandonment. Certainly for me, I can, without judgment, look at all of the females in my life, that my mother, my grandmother, I've noticed all of them have abandoned themselves for the men in their lives because that was the way we did things, wasn't it? That was how it was back in those days.
Yeah, but the number one thing for a woman to look after her family, kids came first, husband comes first, and you pretty much come last. And I think that still happens today.
Yeah.
To a point as well with a lot of women where they totally throw themselves into the family and lose their identity in that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think shame can also come from, as young kids, programming as young kids, like especially in school, being told by teachers and things like that you're not smart enough. You'll never accomplish anything in life. You will never attain anything in life. I mean, I know when I was a kid, I had a couple of teachers that were just total assholes. They just didn't like me because of my background, because my background's Slavic, and Australia back then was a little bit, it probably still is today, a little bit racist about things. But they really just didn't like me. Would go out of their way to constantly berate me and tell me that I wasn't good enough. And so you add that to a domestic violence upbringing as well. And I came out of that whole scenario as a teenager and a young adult, honestly believing that I wasn't good enough for anything. And really having to, find myself. And but it wasn't from the point of view of going, I have to do what other people are doing and feel as if I have to actually fit in, because some people do that as well. It's the whole thing of trying to fit in.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't necessarily I need to try and fit in, but I was always concerned about what people thought about me.
Yeah, that's a big thing, isn't it? And when you're a kid at school, you want to fit in, you want to have friends, you want to do all of that stuff. And then when you go to high school, it gets 10 times worse and you think, wow, bullying is out of control and people react differently. So if you're an extroverted person who does need that validation from other people, I suppose, then, that can be very difficult when you're a child and you're still trying to figure out who you are and what you stand for. I've seen it. I've seen a lot of people who've retained friendships from high school that are massively dysfunctional when you're on the outside looking in. The queen bee syndrome. You've got one girl or a group of popular girls everybody loves, and you've got to kind of play your little roles to get along with those. And if you decide to grow or change, look out, because you're not fitting in anymore.
Yeah. And isn't that interesting, though, because a lot of the times that's what we need to do is to grow and change so we don't fit in. And it's about being true to ourselves and looking for our internal truth so we know what it is that brings us joy in our lives. Because a lot of the times I feel that when we're trying to please other people and we totally forget about us, then you're actually living life by other people's rules. You're not living life by your own rules and by what's important to you. And if those people, for instance, disappear out of your world and you find yourself all alone, then all of a sudden you're going, who am I? What am I?
What a wonderful thing to do, though.
Life.
That's exactly what the universe wants you to do. Stop and have a look and turn your focus from worrying about what everyone around you thinks, your family, your friends, your peers, your colleagues, whatever. That's all just surface noise. What a great thing to happen, because then It's time to look inward and go, okay, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What's going to make me happy? Gather my strength. Now I know what my aligned goals are and how I'm working, and heal that, I suppose, that need for validation within yourself. Look at what sort of a life you can live from that.
Mm.
That's powerful.
Well, we've spoken about this a lot about your self-talk and how you talk to yourself.
Mm.
Obviously, that's self-talk. It's
I
just
knew what you meant. I knew what
whatever,
you meant.
whatever. So that whole self-talk, and usually the self-talk's quite negative for a
Yeah,
lot of people. Occasionally, it may say something good, but usually our self-talk is quite negative.
yeah,
And when you do start to turn inward and start to reconnect with yourself and start to repair that relationship with yourself, the first thing that becomes the thing that you become aware of is that negative self-talk and that little,
yeah,
that monkey chatter, that
yeah,
little ego personality. And it's really important to work on that. And then as you do start to become
yeah,
observant of those thoughts and you start to change them, all of a sudden the relationship that you have with yourself changes as well, because you've become a really good mate of yourself. And that's what
yeah,
I think, that's what actually helps to build that self-trust when
yeah.
you've actually forgotten about you for a long time.
Absolutely. And you don't even know that you're doing it half the time
No,
because it's
not at
it's it's
all.
normal. It's
Yeah.
normal for most people around you. Like I see it all the time. I see people setting aside their boundaries, setting aside their own feelings, setting us, people are rude and behave really badly and people suck it up, or they say things like to get along with that person, they go, that's just how they are,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
or they're constantly saying yes to things that they don't wanna say yes to.
Yeah, they're
Like,
miserable as
and
hell, but, they
yeah.
just keep sucking it up, and I've asked them, I'm that person that will ask the question, I'll go, "Why do you do that if you hate it that much?" And they go, "Oh, well, for the sake of peace." But I
Well, yeah,
I don't think that's
but
peace.
whose peace? Whose peace?
Other
It's
people's peace, not
yeah,
yours,
not
not your inner
yours.
peace.
Exactly. And And I think that's part of it, is when you are someone that is constantly saying yes when actually what you want to do is say no. How does that make you
Yeah,
feel? And
yeah,
do you go back having an argument with yourself and feeling then bad about the fact that you didn't stand up for yourself or you didn't
yeah,
back, and then that little spiral pattern starts to happen of giving yourself a hard time because you didn't listen to you. You did what other people wanted you to do. So
yeah.
setting those boundaries is really important, and understanding what those boundaries are. Yeah.
People desperately struggle with boundaries, and people get so offended when you set boundaries. Even
No,
if you do it in a nice way and you say, "Look, I feel really disrespected by you. I don't like the way that you've treated me, and, I'm really disappointed that you did that." People get really offended when you say that sort of stuff because they can't cope with the fact that you set a boundary. That's common.
well, I think it also depends on how you go about setting it and how you don't have to
Mm,
be an asshole about it. It's more what your boundaries are, or if you don't, figure out what your boundaries are, and then be very clear of
mm,
what you're willing and not willing to tolerate. And when someone crosses the boundary, is to look at it and go, okay, is this something that I need to walk away from? Or is it something that I actually need to advise that person that they've made me feel really uncomfortable, or know that I don't want to do that because it's against my value system, or what? It doesn't
mhm.
really matter. But you've got to be very clear on what your
Yeah.
boundaries are. And your boundaries usually align to your value system. We'd like to say a huge thank you to our incredible audience for your continued support. Our mission is to ignite your spark, empowering you to be a beacon of light for others. We'd love to hear from you. So if you've got any questions that you would like answered in future episodes, or just want to share some insights, connect with us on our Facebook community page. If you're looking for additional resources, go to our website. You'll find the link below. And remember, the absolute best way to help us grow is to share this episode with your friends and family, and to subscribe to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. So until next time, think beautifully and live brilliantly.